Alright, good afternoon. I am your personal writing partner, and today we have a mystery slash thriller from an author named Silas Marrow. And Silas plans to publish this, self-publish this on Kindle Unlimited, and is hoping to build a long-term audience. Silas has requested a line edit. I've not read it, so we will start the live reading as of now. So when I do the live reading, I sometimes give comments on something interests me. So I won't judge your work or anything. It'll just be like my live reader reactions, like what questions I have. That's why I do it live, so you just get the actual live raw readers reactions. I won't say like, oh, it's bad, it's terrible, it's awful. Like just questions I have and stuff. So like you get the live reading process. If that makes sense. All right. So Echoes of the Backrooms. Fun fact, one of my books I'm trying to get published is called Echoes of the Unknown. So, I thought this was my book for a second. Alright, by Silas Marrow, and when you gaze long into an abyss, the abyss also gazes into you. Very famous saying by Friedrich Nietzsche. I probably butchered that name. Chapter 0, Lars the Encounter. Alright, something had felt off all day, but he had ignored the feeling. Lars let out a deep sigh as he sank in the worn leather armchair Friday evening, finally. Yeah, I can get that. His job as a data analyst at Hartwell & Associates was interesting enough, and he was good at it, but that did not make it any less exhausting. His skull throbbed rhythmically, as if someone were tapping a tiny hammer against his temples. That's a good metaphor right there. He needed a few minutes to unwind. The remote lay within reach on the small side table. Lars pressed the red button, and the screen flickered to life, his window to the world. He mindlessly flipped through the channels. A host of unnaturally perfect teas smiled at the camera while praising a new dating show marketed as authentic reality TV. Click. An overenthusiastic salesman waved around a supposedly revolutionary iron that was apparently going to change the lives of millions of housewives. Lars snorted and kept going. The familiar jingle of the evening news filled the living room. The voice of the anchor, Mark Brenner, the face of the regional news for years, barely registered at first. And now to our top story tonight. Another mysterious disappearance has shaken our city. At around 3 o'clock this morning, a neighbor contacted police after hearing unusual noises coming from the house next door, describing them as unnatural screams. Lars instinctively straightened in his chair. I wonder if Lars is involved in this at all. When officers arrived on the scene, they found the house abandoned. On the staircase leading to the upper floor, investigators discovered a large amount of blood, as well as traces of tissue, indicating that the missing person suffered severe injuries. However, as for the previous cases, no body was found. Authorities also have no indication of the missing person's whereabouts. The screen switched to aerial footage, probably filmed by a police drone. Lars recognized the neighborhood, Oak Street, only a few miles from here, one of the quietest residential areas in the city. 2 years ago, he had even considered giving up his downtown apartment and moving there. Terror moved inside the house. Lars swallowed hard. The staircase leading upstairs looked like a slaughterhouse. Dark red splatters covered the cream-colored walls. At the bottom of the stairs, a trail of blood stretched sideways, as if a body had been dragged across the floor. Lars leaned forward, his exhaustion completely gone. On the wooden banister, he noticed a bloody handprint, fingers spread wide, as if the person had desperately tried to hold on. A chill crawled down his spine. He found himself imagining what that person's final moments must have looked like. Bright yellow police tape blocked access to the staircase. In the background, officers struggled to keep reporters and curious onlookers away from the scene. The identity of the missing person has not yet been confirmed, though authorities believe it may be the homeowner. Brenner continued in his professionally concerned tone. Police are asking the public for any information while also warning. Let's see. Also warning. Oh, shit, I lost my place. I'm sorry. While also warning against premature speculation. This marks the 18th unexplained disappearance in the past 4 months. 18. Lars rubbed his face and switched off the television. Another disappearance. Lockhaven had always been a quiet town where nothing ever happened. It all started with the first case 4 months ago. Oh man, I'm gonna butcher this name, man. I'm sorry. Onion Chin, sorry if I butchered that. 8 years old, vanished from her home backyard while her mother briefly went inside to answer the phone. Lars had even joined them at search effort, trekking through the woods with dozens of other volunteers looking for a little girl with black braids and a yellow summer's dress. They never found her. 3 weeks later, Mark disappeared, a 29-year-old bank employee. His grandmother claimed he had been in the kitchen making tea while she watched television in the living room. When she checked on him 5 minutes later, He was gone, just gone. There were no signs of a struggle, no evidence of break-in. Then came more. An old man during a walk through the park, a college student on her way home from university, a construction worker during his lunch break. These people had nothing in common. Different ages, different genders, different professions, different social classes. The only thing linking the cases was the complete absence of usable clues. At work, the wildest theories circulated nonstop. Sandra from accounting was convinced a serial killer was behind it all, someone so skilled at hiding bodies that they would never be found. Finn from IT insisted it had to be human trafficking and organized network kidnapping people and shipping them overseas. People needed explanations. Lars understood that much, and when there were none, they invented their own. Fear had slowly slipped into the city like a cold fog. You could not see it openly, but you could feel it everywhere. People went home earlier. Parents picked the children up from school themselves. The streets emptied after sunset. He glanced at the clock above the television. 8:45. Sophia would be here soon. Their three-year relationship had become increasingly strained over the past few weeks. Small arguments or meaningless things that somehow escalated into larger fights. Lars got up and shuffled into the tiny kitchen of his two-room apartment. The refrigerator hummed softly. When he opened the door, he could not help but grin. A mouse hung itself in the fridge. What? His father used to say that whenever there was nothing to eat. Well, that's a weird saying. That's definitely unique. I never heard that before. Sorry, I'm taking a sip real quick. A few eggs in the side compartment, an open can of peaches, left over from yesterday's, oh man, I was never good at saying this word, bolognese, I'll say just bolognese, I'm sorry, in a plastic container, enough for one person, definitely not enough for two. Well, that's enough for the mouse. I mean, the mouse wouldn't hang himself, you know. Laura stepped in the cramped bathroom, set himself in the mirror by the sink. His dark blonde hair stuck out in every direction. The circles beneath his gray-blue eyes were impossible to miss. He splashed cold water on his face. In the hallway, he grabbed his black leather jacket and left the apartment. The evening air was cool and fresh, a welcome change. Lars took a deep breath and headed for the supermarket. Sorry about that. Excuse me. At the edge of the small park separating his neighborhood from downtown, a group of teenagers sat on a wooden bench drinking beer from cans. Their laughter echoed through the dusk. And then the guy got stuck in the elevator for 4 freaking hours, one of them said drunkenly. A few yards farther down sat an older man with messy hair beside a trash can, holding a cardboard sign that read, "Need help, God bless you." A flicker of pity stirred in Lars' chest, but he looked away and kept walking. He knew he would forget the man within minutes, but just like so many other uncomfortable truths in life. The neon sign of Marked Weber, I wonder if you mean Mark or Marked, glowed in the twilight like a lighthouse. The small supermarket was one of the few still open until 10, an old-fashioned family business. Only a handful of cars sat in the parking lot while a few retirees chatted near the entrance about the weather and the government. Lars greeted them with a nod before disappearing between the brightly lit aisles. He wandered through the store, gathering ingredients for a simple but decent dinner: pasta, fresh tomatoes, basil, and parmesan. Nothing spectacular, but homemade and prepared with care. On the way back, Lars took the quieter side streets through the neighborhood. He decided to take a shortcut through the narrow alley between the pharmacy and the old post office building. He had walked this route hundreds of times, familiar, harmless, but tonight something felt different. At the other end of the alley, a figure appeared around the corner. Dark silhouette with a slightly punched posture, its face hidden beneath the hood of a sweatshirt. Lars instinctively slowed down. After all the disappearances, caution felt reasonable. So, yeah, little nitpick over here that just stood out to me as a reader. So, like, we're talking about, like, fear throughout the city, but Lars is just going down an alleyway instead of just, like, I don't know why he's going through the side streets when you know, typically if you're trying to stay in the safe, you know, you want to go to the main streets where you see people and stuff. That sticks out to me as a reader. That kind of makes me halt and be like, wait a minute, let me read back over here. Where is he going? After all the disappearances, caution felt reasonable. They drew closer. Lars casually crossed to the other side of the alley, then he felt that the air around him began to vibrate. Not metaphorically, it actually vibrated, as if some massive invisible machine were running nearby. The hairs on his arms stood on end. Lars stopped abruptly. The figure across from him stopped as well. Slowly the stranger pulled back his hood, revealing the face of a young man, maybe in his mid-20s, with friendly features and the same confused expression Lars himself must have had. Their eyes met in silence. Something was wrong. The vibration intensified, then came the sound. high-pitched shriek tore through the air, sharp enough to cut through bone. Okay, with the paranormal stuff, this sticks out to me as a reader. Like, is this actually cutting through bone, or is this just, a colorful metaphor? So, usually in like more grounded series and stuff and such, this wouldn't be an issue. But like, we're talking about like the Backrooms, and I have a fleeting understanding of the Backrooms. Like, is this actually cutting through his bone? And this might sound like a nitpick, but like, especially in your first chapter, and especially with a thriller mystery that you're reading, you don't want the reader to like stumble on anything, because when they stumble on everything that ruins the immersion and that ruins the pacing. So this, I'll probably go into this more during the edits. So Lars kept his hands over his ears, but the noise seemed to come directly from inside his skull. Dizziness washed over him. For a moment, the world spun, and then the impossible happened. The brick wall beside the stranger began to shimmer, then something burst out of it. A creature. At first, Lars' mind refused to process what he was seeing. The thing was dark and wet, with unnaturally long limbs. Its skin glistened black-green beneath the streetlights. The stench of decay instantly flooded the alley. The creature lunged forward. The young man never had a chance to run. Razor-sharp teeth sank into his shoulder. A blood-curdling scream shattered the silence. But the scream stopped abruptly when the monster dragged his prey back toward the wall. The bricks swallowed them both like water, sealing shut behind them as if they had never existed. Only a pool of blood remained on the asphalt, and Lars was in place, clutching the grocery bag against his chest, eyes wide with horror. An eternity passed, or maybe only seconds. Then his legs obeyed him again. He ran. He only came back to himself when his apartment door slammed shut behind him. His hands shook so violently that he could barely get the key into the lock. Lars collapsed in the kitchen chair and stared at his trembling hands. What had he just seen? Was he losing his mind? Hallucinating? But the image in his head felt too real. Whatever he had seen, it was the reason behind the disappearances. He was certain of it now. It explained why the bodies were never found. Oh God, those poor people. His stomach twisted at the thought of the little girl, those creatures. They could move the walls, then nowhere was safe. He jumped a Tanch on his shoulder and made Lars flinch violently. His body reacted as though he had been electrocuted. Hey, it's just me. Sophia's familiar voice cut through the haze of panic. When did she come in? Had he missed the sound of her key in the lock while trapped inside his own thoughts? Are you okay? Her voice turned worried. It looked like you've seen a ghost. Lars opened his mouth, but the words caught in his throat. Could he even tell her? His voice sounded insane even inside his own head. He swallowed hard, feeling his throat tighten. Sophia noticed his hesitation and frowned. Without asking, she grabbed his arms and searched his face. What happened? You're seriously scaring me. The concern in her voice cracked something open inside of him. This was Sophia, the same woman who had stood beside him for 3 years. If he could tell anyone, it was her. He took a deep breath, like someone preparing to jump into freezing water. I just saw someone get killed. Not the whole truth, but a start. Sophia's eyes widened and sharp. Her hands immediately left his arms as she began checking for injuries. What? Oh my God, Lars, are you hurt? Did they do anything to you? No. He shook his head gently and placed his hands over hers. I'm fine, nothing happened to me. She stepped back, but the tension remained on her face. We need to call the police right now. She was already pulling her phone from her jeans pocket. You need to give a statement, tell them everything you saw. Maybe they could still catch whoever did it. No. The sharpness in the voice startled him. He grabbed the phone from her hands before she could dial emergency services. You don't understand. We can't call the police. This is something else. What do you mean? Sophia stared at him in confusion. Someone was murdered, Lars. Of course we have to call the police. He saw the confusion in her face, took a deep breath. Then he said it. It was a monster. The words landed like stones in the silence of the room. That's a good simile. It looked horrible, like nothing I've ever seen before. Grabbed the guy by the neck and dragged him into the wall, straight through the wall. Lars watched Sophia's expression change. Her lips parted slightly as she tried to process what he had just said. Please be honest with me, she said carefully, speaking as though she were dealing with a friend child. Did you maybe take something? Medication you reacted badly to? Or frustration surged through him? So, one note as a reader, this is just my personal opinion. This isn't like an editing thing right now. But like all these we live in a time and age where I think we're more accepting to accept like, hey, a monster. We live in a kind of ironic society now, like how internet culture is. I feel like if someone did say this, I think like it wouldn't be like the 90s and 2000s and stuff where like you're crazy and stuff. We'd be like, wait, what? Really? Are you serious? Like I feel like nowadays and age we'd be more likely to believe it for some reason. But I think that's just me as a reader. I also think that's just something I'd like to see, like as not change of pace. Flip those expectations, because like I know this is going to happen. Like maybe one common thing of one very good tip in writing that I learned about was like, hey, take an expectation, just flip it on its head. Like maybe just have her already just kind of believe him. That'd be a way to make your work stand out from the others. Just something to consider though. No, I didn't take anything. I'm serious, Sophia. Lara, she inhaled sadly, slowly. You do realize how this sounds, right? You saw the hopelessness in her eyes. She was completely overwhelmed. I'm not crazy, said louder than intention. And yes, I know exactly how it sounds. But I also know what I saw. Please, Sophia, believe me. She stayed silent for a long moment. Okay, she finally said. Look, let's just sit you down for a minute. I'll make you some chamomile tea. No. Give me the hard stuff. Give me the Don Julio, alright? That's that kind of day. Once you calm down a little bit, you can tell me exactly what you saw. I mean, maybe your eyes played tricks on you. It was dark, you were tired. Maybe she searched desperately for an explanation. There has to be a rational reason for this. Lars let out a deep sigh. He could tell she did not believe him, but what had he expected? An hour ago, he would have reacted the exact same way. He sat back down at the kitchen table and let her move around the apartment. Sophia hurried to the kettle, filled it with water, and switched it on. Lars stared at his hands. They were still trembling. He did not feel safe here anymore. Walls of his own apartment suddenly felt threatening. What if the creature could come through any wall? What if it was already here, waiting just beyond the kitchen wall, only inches away? Maybe they should leave the city, drive out to his parents' place in the countryside where it was safer, but he could not leave Sophia here alone, not after what he had seen. The clink of a mug against the table pulled him from his thoughts. Sophia sat down across from him. I know what he saw, he said quietly but firmly. The guy was only a few feet away from me. That thing grabbed him and dragged him off. He looked up directly into her eyes. Sorry, taking another sip. Don't you get it? All this experiences over the last few months. Chen, Kellner, all the others. Those things must have taken them too. That's why they never found the bodies. Lars, Sophia sighed and bit her lower lip. You know things like that don't exist. I saw it with my own eyes. The words burst out of him louder than intended, and yet she held his gaze even though he could feel the fear in her eyes now. There has to be a logical explanation. There was a monster. You really worry me, Lars. I'm not crazy. His voice nearly cracked. In the sudden silence that followed, his heavy breathing sounded unnaturally loud. Sophia slowly reached out toward him. Please, I want to help you, but the shrill ringing of her phone interrupted her. The device lay on the counter, its screen lighting up. Lars caught the name displayed on it, Jenny. Sophia looked between him and the phone before pressing decline. The ringing stopped and immediately started again. Same name. Go ahead, Lars said bitterly, his voice rough. Seems important. Sophia hesitated for a moment before answering. Hey, Jenny, this really isn't the best time for her. She was abruptly cut off. Lars could hear the panicked voice on the other end, though he could not make the words. What? No, seriously, what exactly happened? Sophia jumped to her feet and hurried to the window. Pulling the thin curtains aside with one hand, she stared out at the street. Are you sure? Her voice sounded nervous now. The calmness was gone. She listened silently for several minutes. Yeah, okay, thanks for calling. Be careful. Talk later. She ended the call and turned towards Lars. The color had drained from her face. What happened? He was beside her instantly, hands gripping his shoulder. Sophia, what did she say? Voice was barely above whisper. They're sealing off the city. First impressions. I can definitely tell you have experience with writing because the prose. It's more. Let's see. It's more woven. If that makes more sense. Like it flows pretty well, like the prose wise. Let's see. I do like the setup. I mean, I'm familiar with backrooms and stuff. I do like the fact that hey, this does seem different from what I know about the backrooms, where it's not like this hidden anomaly. It's now it's out into the open. Like there's actually a government response, and like the entire city is gonna be involved. I feel like that is kind of a good hook. Let's see. I don't think you need much line edits. I think just developmental edits, because there are parts where this just kind of drags, and Lars doesn't feel like a person, if that makes sense. I'm gonna go through it and be like, show like where that pops up and stuff, and just also want to get this out of the way. Whenever I talk about my edits, they're not like, hey, this is good or bad. When we do developmental edits or line edits, it's just talking about clarity and just making your story work the way that you want it to for the reader. You said you wanted the reader to be intrigued and thrilled and have a building mystery. So in order to do that, typically in mystery thrillers, we want to be in Lars's head. Like we want to feel like we are Lars and seeing this happen with him. And I didn't really feel that whenever I was reading that, and a lot of parts just kind of felt repetitive. And we're not saying this is good or bad. All right, so this isn't like me, trashing on your work. This is just like I've been here. I think one of the things that popped out to me the most was there's a lot of narration and description. However, very little from Lars himself. We don't have much dialogue from him. So I typically like to break down the storytelling, story crafting, like basic three parts. So you have your narration, which you have, then you have your dialogue, and then you have your world building. It doesn't have to be a perfect three ratio, but you do need more of a mix, in my opinion. Because Lars is just doing stuff. He's just going through the motions. It doesn't feel like he's a character. So like one of the developmental edits, one of the most important ones is to make Lars feel like an account, feel like a character, like he's lived a past life, and we are just coming up to him on this day. But he's already lived a past life. He already has his own motivations, and we are going through his own like little character arc in this first chapter, if that makes sense. All right, so let's get started with the edits. One small note about the backrooms. I do worry about oversaturation in this market because I do like one of the things I do know about the backrooms is like everybody's doing the backrooms, and usually one of the final nails of the coffins for the backrooms or like any like internet based story is when it makes it to Hollywood and there is that backrooms movie coming out. Who knows? That movie might be amazing and just cause a huge wave for the backrooms. But usually, if you ever like saw like the Slender Man movie, that was like the final nail in the coffin for like that entire genre. So it is something to just keep in mind. But this is being self-published. This isn't going for like traditional publishing or anything. So I don't really think you have to worry about that. Let's see. On a developmental note, this does feel like I've seen this quote a lot in fiction. Maybe consider just maybe something another quote from Friedrich. And I didn't feel like this applied to what I read as well. Alright, so I will be in suggesting mode. Alright, something I felt off all day, but he ignored the feeling. Lars let out a deep sigh as he sank into the leather armchair. Friday evening, finally. So if you're going for a thriller and you want your reader to be like intrigued, it's typically like fast paced. Like you want that first line to be like the reader, especially with backrooms where there's a whole bunch of stories just center around the backrooms. You have like one line in one paragraph to like make the reader be like, oh, I need to read the first line. All right. So I think I'm going to keep this on developmental, not really line editing, because it looks like your prose is pretty good. Because I typically focus on my line edits for like newer writers. I can tell that you're not a newer writer. So, let's see. I would say let's keep it in Lars's perspective over here, and we don't really need to see him. Like this isn't, to me, this isn't like I need to read what's going on next. He's just sitting in a chair, Like we need to be like. We need to start off with a mystery. Like we need to start with intrigue, if that makes sense. So like I'm trying to figure out where I had my first intrigue at. Because like all through here I was like, okay, this is I'm not really into the story. I'm not feeling the intrigue, I'm not feeling the thriller, I'm not seeing the mystery here. Let's see, I'm trying to see where. So in development edits, especially from another writer, like this is why I do the reading first. I'm like, hey, where was I first intrigued? Where was I first like, okay, let me read on. So it wasn't here. Like I didn't feel anything over here. Let's see. What's the anchor? Okay. So I think around here, like, hey, we have a crazy disappearance at a city after a string of cities. So I think keeping it here, like, I think this is your beginning anchor point for the story in developmental edits. So I would suggest, instead of Lars just watching the TV, we have a degree of separation between Lars in the plot right now. And I see what you're doing here. Like, hey, mysterious disappearance, and we're seeing like uh, little clues of what's going on here. Like dark red splatters cover the cream-colored walls. So these are good details. Like this would be intriguing. However, the issue is Lars isn't experiencing this. He's watching this through the TV, which means the reader who's already reading this has another degree of separation because our main character who we're supposed to be following, we're supposed to get in the head of, he's just watching this on TV. Alright, and then also on a line editing note, like it made it sound like he was in the house, but I knew he was watching it on TV, but that's more of a minor nitpick. So I would suggest on developmental note, what if we had Lars, actually in the house? What if instead of, what if he was in a detective role, where there's a serious circumstances where he is in the house? It doesn't have to be a detective or anything. He could be like, hey, I'm consumed with the idea of the backrooms. I know something's up, and I've been following the string, and we have him go inside the house. He hears a scream. Like we start off the story, like, hey, right here, we start off the story with like, hey, he hears a scream and he's inside the house. We are in the house and we see blood all over the place, and like this is in the first paragraph. For me personally, that would be like, okay, I need to find out what the hell is going on over here. Like we got blood in the house. What are you doing in this house? I have all these questions now. That would be my suggestion, to just have us more in the moment. And then this also helps out where I was saying like, hey, the character needs to feel lived in. Now we have questions as the readers like, okay, Lars has something crazy going on, and then you can fill in as he's exploring the house. We can get like little tidbits of Lars as a person, his reaction to what he's seeing. So if you want him to be like a weather detective, like he's seeing all these blood spatters and he's be like, oh, not again, or like maybe have like a Captain Ahab situation where he's like, I am convinced the backrooms exist. Everyone thinks I'm a conspiracy nut, but I know it. So maybe we can inform Lars by saying like, hey, he's excited by seeing this because this is proving his theory, and that can get the reader more intrigued as Lars' character, because like, wait, who the hell is this guy? So I think that would be a major suggestion I'll do, is like have at least find a way to get Lars inside this house in the beginning, not just watching it on TV. It's not confirmed, though clearly believe me on. Let's see. And yeah, so yeah, this kind of this supporting paragraph could maybe it's probably why I suggest Lars be a detective, because it seemed like he's following these cases. So this would be a good paragraph to support that notion if you did decide to take this advice. Let's see. This you're saying a lot here, but like you have a lot of words here, but it's just saying the same thing. Like people are disappearing. I would say like, hey, give these guys more intriguing details on like what makes their disappearances, so like give hints as to what's happening, like what this creature does. Like maybe like something impossible to this world has happened to these people. Like a little tantalizing clues for each of these people that you mention. Build that intrigue of your reader. Like, hey, this person was found, without her head or something. Or like this person was like never seen again. Works fine once, but we're kind of just like, hey, these people were never seen again, which could be anything. Like give the readers intrigue and clues, like where they are saying like, okay, this has to be related to the backrooms, because like, hey, this could just be like domestic violence. This could have been like, hey, a kidnapping. Like give them supernatural clues as to like what happened with their disappearance. That is making Lars, making Lars associate these guys with the backrooms. Let's see. This is actually pretty good right here. I like how you describe the city. I think you could expand this. When I talk about world building, this is what I mean by world building. Like, hey, what is this city like? I think these details are really good over here. However, there's not really enough of them. It's just more of just Lars just kind of doing stuff and reacting to stuff. So I feel like expand on this. Give me more details of the city. make me feel like, hey, I am like this city is like I don't know, like the city is like on the verge of an inciting incident. You know, like it feels like cold and forlorn. Something's about to happen. Everybody's on edge. Like makes place feel like a damn madhouse. So I would say highlight on this. So I would say yeah, get rid of this. Expand on this. All right, I like this. Like I need more details like this, and make it feel like there's a clock click, clock clicking down, a clock ticking down. Something is going to happen. This leads up well into here because this was my main thing where I was like, okay, this is kind of setting apart from the others. So I would say, hey, build up to this. Like, hey, this city is slowly sealing apart. Maybe there's like walls or something, like government agencies or something. Rumors flying around that this city's going on a lockdown. So this seems to be your hook for the reader. Make sure your entire first chapter is building towards this. We're building towards this, and then also your other hook was, where is it at? Oh, and this. These are the main two things that you're trying to highlight to the reader. Like, hey, this is important. This is my cool thing. This is what is gonna make you read on. So we need to build up to this creature over here, which is why I'm saying like, hey, we need to start him off in the house because let's see, because over here is where you're building up to the creature. So that's why I'm saying we need Lars in the action, seeing this stuff happen. He's actually engaged. He is an active character trying to track down this creature instead of it just happening to him. Readers typically, especially now in modern ages, they like readers, main characters who are actively pursuing their goals, not just stuff happens to me and I just react to it. So I believe that's why I say like I want Lars to be inside the house, actively chasing this creature, so we have an active goal and we feel like we are Lars. So like at the beginning I said like, hey, I don't really feel like Lars is a character. That's what I mean. He's not chasing after a goal or anything. He's just weird stuff just happens and he just reacts to it. And when that happens, that's when that disconnect happens between the reader and your character. And we don't feel like we are Lars. We just feel like we're reading about Lars, seeing some weird stuff. So having him be actually engaged in founding this creature and actually inside the city and seeing how he reacts, what he thinks about them sealing out the city, as we see these people, as we see more and more signs that something is going to happen to this city as a whole. So we make the world feel more lived in, and then we also give Laura something to chase for. I think having those two things will make this story come more to life. And then my major dragging point. I would say especially this, like definitely expand on this more. Like give the creature more detail, like more, like we need more intrigue, more suspense. You know, like I would like this to be expanded a lot, and I believe if you're trying to say word count, this entire like this area just dragged. Like there's nothing like we're not man, like it's not progressing the plot at all. Like they're just acting like a normal couple would. Like we're not learning anything new about Sophia. She's just acting like I don't believe you. Laura's saying no, it really happened. Like they're not progressing the plot. They're not progressing any relationship. The dialogue is just going in circles, saying like, hey, it's a monster. I don't believe you. It's a monster. I don't believe you. It's a monster. I don't believe you. And we do this for this entire length, which doesn't look like that long, but to a reader, and they don't know the story that you're trying to build, and you have to spend like your entire first chapter is what you're going to be rewriting over and over again. Just guaranteed you're going to be rewriting your first chapter the most. Every single line in the first chapter, especially in nowadays markets, especially in the backrooms fiction, where it is getting to the point where it's oversaturated. Every single sentence needs to build upon each other when it comes to intrigue and suspense. You cannot have a single line of drag. You can't have a single line of disclarity. You do write clearly, though. I will say your prose is very clear. I didn't really stumble on anything. So like your prose as well. You just I would say that you need more developmental edits. Yep. So like this entire section, I believe, can be cut, and you can use that space that you saved to focus on this creature coming up, Lars' maniacal chase, and the city going under lockdown. Those were the things that were keeping me intrigued in the reading. Like for example, like Lars going shopping. Sorry, I don't care about it. Let's see. Yeah, see, this, I think, this is also leading up to the city. So, like, this would, if we can link this to, like, hey, something is also going after the city, like some, like, government forces or, like, conspiracy, uh, conspiratorial forces are looming down upon us. Maybe have Lars make that connection a little bit. Let's see. Let's see. All right. Then, as a minor note, so I won't have you delete this. So I'll go line by line real quick. Just do a couple of line edits real quick. There were like a few things that I noticed. Let's see. Unique Friday. It's interesting enough. Good, but that didn't make it any less exhausting. It's called route rhythmically. This is a good line. I do like this this metaphor that you have over here. It's pretty well. It's pretty well done. This might be because you sent it to me in PDF. I converted it to Adobe, but I would like a couple spaces over here. But that might be because you sent it to me in PDF. And another person did this as well. They sent it to PDF and messed up with the spacing that wasn't original to their work. So this one might be on me. We definitely need more stuff like this, like Lars' reactions, so we get like his reactions to things that are going on. So we get like that's the best way to get a feel for our characters, like who he is as a person. So this kind of leads me to believe that he might be a bit more cynical to the world and stuff. Let's see. And then always make sure that your dialogue is in its own paragraph. Let's see. Yeah. Swallowed hard makes me feel like think that cartoonish gulp sound. So like I think just Lars swallowed would be fine on this. Staircase leading upstairs look like a slaughterhouse. Gun. So I don't think that we really need this because like the traditional overdone show don't tell. Like this is good enough for me. I don't need you to tell me the exhaustion completely gone. Maybe if you really want, if you're committed to this, like hey, give him a sensory description, like his heart is pounding, his pulse is pounding, is throbbing or something. If you really want to keep this simultaneous action going on. Let's see. I was just replacing this once. As always, makes it sound like, hey, it's still a quiet time where nothing happens. When that's not what you're trying to imply. You're trying to imply like, hey, Lockhaven used to be a quiet time where nothing ever happened. So just that little change right there. So I changed A to the over here because A indicates that, hey, that's another little girl that we're not that is unrelated to Miss Chen over here. Whenever but you are supporting Chen as describing her as a little girl with black braids and yellow summer dress. When we say a little girl, when we already know who Onion Chen is, A means like, hey, I don't know who this girl is, but we know Lars is talking about Onion Chen over here. So it kind of leads to believe, okay, he's looking for another little girl with black braids. But I know that you mean Onion Chen, but it could be ambiguous enough for another reader to be like, oh, okay, he's looking for another little girl. Let's see. So you have two dependent clauses over here when you typically only want to be one. 3 weeks later, Mark disappeared, a 29-year-old bank employee. So that reads clunky. So I would suggest we don't really need to know this guy's name, really. Or you could have 3 weeks later, Mark disappeared, and then delete this area. But I don't think the names are too important unless you were having Lars be like, hey, I'm a local in the city. And like, hey, this wasn't just a bank employee. This is Mark. I knew Mark. Depends on how you want to portray Mark in this world. So I'm gonna delete one of these actions because it just kind of drags on a little bit. Oh wait, no, that's my bad. Never mind. That was my bad. Okay, I thought you were saying the grandmother was doing both these actions, but it was Mark doing one action while the grandmother doing the next. That's my bad. So this does contradict no sign of a struggle, no evidence of break-in with all this going on down here. But Lars is convinced that both this, where we have clear evidence of something crazy is going on, is associated with the blood splatters and sign of a break-in. But he's also doing the same thing for this, where there's no struggle, no evidence of break-in. So that is a bit inconsistent. Why is he claiming that this is the Backrooms when these guys are completely unrelated? Like, this could just be a murder gone wrong. But Lars believes, which means that you as authors leading me as a reader to believe, hey, this is Backrooms, but it contradicts over here. So this is what I was saying. Definitely, like, hey, have more crazy stuff happening, like more crazy disappearances to like whatever you have in the Backrooms, give us like little tidbits over here. This is your chance to do that over here. And then I was just to give these more weight, give them like their own line. And I don't know why it's centering on here. Like Google Docs does not like it when we convert it to PDF. So. There we go. So we don't really need this because it's just reiterating what you said over here. I believe this topic sentence works better to progress the plot. And then I'll suggest having these people like have it be dialogue that Lars is having. Maybe he's having a conversation with these people. That's what I'm saying. Like, hey, find a chance to make this place feel more lived in, and part of that is just having dialogue. Like, what kind of accents are they talking about? What are they actually saying? What rumors have they actually heard? Like, it works better when we actually read them read them actually saying it instead of you just telling us about it. Just small little things that we're getting ready over here. Just to keep the plot a bit more moving, keep it a bit more dynamic. Uh, it's like whenever you go into the kitchen, we already imply that he's already standing. So these are like small little things you can get rid of. We don't need to know that he got up. We can assume that he already did that if he's walking to the kitchen. Wait, what the? Let's see, large bathroom. Yeah, like I said, your prose is pretty good, so I don't really have much on a line edit. On a line editing level, it's just mostly developmental, so I don't really have much in way of that. I can tell that you're an experienced writer. This isn't your first rodeo over here. This line reads a bit clunky over here. Few yards few yards farther down sat an older man with messy hair beside a trash can. Yeah, it's just the way. It's just yeah, it's the preposition over here. It's not linked to the older man. It seems like it's actually the preposition beside is beside it's ugh beside the messy hair. This subject over here, which could lead to be like, hey, the trash can has messy hair. So I would say let's get this preposition to be linked to the older man. There. Yeah. So yeah, definitely changing it to active voice. Oh, my bad. Changing to active voice. Also, the passive voice also help was also messing up your preposition placement. So just changing to active voice, where the old man is performing the action, helped get rid of a couple other prepositions that were messing with the flow of this line. It's like more of like minor nitpick. And then I'm not sure if you meant marked or mark, but just want to highlight to you if in case that is a typo. And just getting rid of the helping verbs over here because we don't need to say began to vibrate. We can just say vibrated. Give this exact same context with less words. I love line editing. Line editing is different from developmental editing. Developmental editing is where I'm talking about your story and such. So you may have noticed that I got rid of the stuff that I was deleting in your developmental edits just to go through the line edits. Line edits doesn't care about your story at all. It just makes sure that you're clear. That's if you ever want to know the difference between developmental and line editing. Developmental is for story, characters, make sure everything's consistent and such. Line editing is just make sure that your prose is clear. That's why I don't really have much edits because you're pretty experienced on this. Ugh, typo on my end. That's too omniscient. Let's see. So I'm going to replace this with a more descriptive verb, something a bit of pizzazz. Let's see. Yeah, we definitely don't need this indirect way of saying something. We just say just replace this with a single descriptive verb. So maybe like burned. That's what you want to go for, like more supernatural. Like it's burning inside my skull. Pounded. If you want to go like more grounded. Like that's my favorite thing about descriptive verbs, especially when it comes to action verbs. You can mix and match them to fit your tone. Or screeched if you want to make it feel like more alive. And then again. Actually, I don't think you need this. So you already have this on here, so that implies that this already happened. There we go. then this is not a complete sentence. I guess okay. I guess you're talking more literary. Only pool blood remained, and then this is a supporting sentence of this. Okay, so yeah. All right, yeah, you can bend the rules of this, but this did kind of catch my look a little bit. But I can see where you're going for with this. Oh, my bad. Then she's using a verb here to convey like more like the his demeanor right now. So he's not gonna grab. He's gonna snatch that away from her. And this is a bit head hoppy over here because Lars doesn't know what Sophia's doing, so he can like we are on Lars' point of view right now. Let's see, so he can only see that her lips are parted slightly. And this is just redundant of this, so this works well, but we don't really need to just we already know this. Yeah, I'm deleting this line here because Lars doesn't seem like the way he's been portrayed. He does seem like, hey, like I believe in the supernatural already from like the get go. So I don't think he would say that. I would react this way because he seems like very on like, hey, something that we're going on to say like from the moment we met this guy. So that doesn't make sense for Lars to be saying that. Just a little bit nitpick, but we making tea, we already know it's filling it with water, so you don't really need to say that. All right. So yeah, like as I said, your prose is pretty good. So I didn't really have that many line edits. Main thing is just please consider my developmental suggestions. Um, I do like I and then I do like this hook over here. Like you do have a good hook at the end over here. I just need that more built up to throughout and the monster built up through the beginning of the chapter and sprinkled in within, and just have Lars be like we need to be more in his POV. And I think if you address those couple of things, you will have a good story on your hand. I hope that these edits were of use to you, and good luck with storytelling and happy stories.